So this is going to be a video on how I make my clay pins. I really wouldn't call it a tutorial because I didn't really have a structure to the video while I was recording myself making it, and I had already made the clay pins at this point, so it's really just a chill video of me painting and glazing them, and yeah, hope you enjoy. So before I start painting my pins, I like to have an idea of what sort of design I want on each of them, and also because I'm terrible at freehand, I like to use a light 4H pencil to sketch on faces or designs and patterns, just to give me an idea on what to paint and how to sort of organize the layers, and it also helps me work in batches. So you can see here that I'm using a previous pin that I made as a reference to sketch on the face, and then this one I wanted to give him a bit of a sleepy, tired expression, so I did that. And if I don't like the designs that I'm sketching, I usually just use an eraser and it tends to get most of it off and sketch over it again. And here's all of them finished, and I think I was pretty happy with it. And for paints, I use Tamiya acrylic paint. They come in these little jars and they're typically used for miniature paints or model painting. I got some of these during my trip in Japan because I saw that they were used for polymer clay and thought I'd give them a crack, and so far they've been really good. The only downside I have about these paints is that straight out of the jar they tend to dry really quickly, so I have to work quite fast. I feel like they dry a lot quicker than your standard acrylic paints. So here I am mixing blue and brown to make sort of a navy color for this first pin. And because the paint does dry so fast, what I usually do is I dilute the mix with a bit of water. That way it won't dry as quickly, and it also helps me work in layers when I'm painting on my pins. So here you'll see me painting on the first layer of this pin. I wanted the cat to be sort of a light navy, but it ended up being a lot darker than I expected, but I'm not too upset about that. And with this one, I just painted on a patch on the ear so that I could make a black and white cat. And yeah, so usually I wait for the first layer to dry and then I put on about 2 or 3 more coats to really get the colors out. This one I wanted sort of a light ginger cat, so I got some beige that I had and watered it down and worked in layers until I was happy with the colour that I got. And the fourth one I just left plain white. Once I was done painting all the base colours of the pins, I then move on to painting the faces. Obviously with some of these, the faces that I sketched on do get covered, so I do end up painting freehand, But as you can see, I always keep a reference with me, whether it's a previous pin that I already made or a sketched out design on paper. And yeah, so here I'm just getting some white paint out, and usually I start with a ball tool. I'm used to using them mostly for sculpting and painting faces like this, but I think these tools are used for nail art as well. And I just dip into the jars and try to draw a circle for the eyes. And I did the same with the beige cat, except with brown paint. And I like to work in layers when it comes to painting the face as well, so I paint the base of the eyes and wait for it to dry, or I draw other details like the mouth and the whiskers and stuff like that. With the white cat, I wanted it to have blue eyes, so on a wet paper towel I mixed some paints together, and I noticed that with small amounts of paint it helped keep it wet whilst diluting it so I could focus on the finer details a bit more. Once I'm done painting most of the details, I usually cover the back of the pins with brown paint because I feel like it just creates a finished look and makes it look nice and clean.
So I'm gonna stop for tonight because it's getting dark and we're trying to figure out how to get a movie going because we got pizza. Yeah. So I've done most of them in the sense that like they're all pretty much done, but like this one doesn't have a backing, and I like the brown back that I paint on them. And they need glazing and the actual pins, which I will do tomorrow. And yeah, because I prefer to record this with some daylight. Yep.
So it turns out the day after was still pretty gloomy, so I couldn't get much natural light in. But the pins were all done from the night before, and I just let the paint dry to make sure that they were all good for glazing. And as you can see, I added a spot on the white cat. For glazing the pins, I use UV resin, which is basically a resin that cures under UV light, so that could be with a lamp or just natural sunlight. And I prepare this by getting a jar with some nail polish remover or rubbing alcohol ready, because that's the only way you can get resin off of things. And I put the resin into a bowl that came with the bottle, and use just a cheap brush that I'm okay with ruining to glaze them. It's best to work in sections when glazing with UV resin because unless you put UV light onto them, the resin itself won't cure or dry. So once I'm done glazing one part of the pins, I wash the brush in some of the alcohol and then wash it with water. Then I have this small UV torch that I use just to cure the resin a little bit before I start moving them outside or under a UV lamp to fully cure them. And I do that for a couple of seconds on each one so that they're not fully cured but they're not too tacky to touch and move around. Once they're not tacky, I usually take them outside on a sunny day to finish curing them, but this day happened to be really gloomy, so I just use this portable UV lamp that I have. And once the backs are dry, I do the same for the front. Once the pins have been completely glazed, I start putting the actual pin backs to them, and I attach that using some resin as well. I just put a dot on them and just place them gently on the back and position them before I cure them off with a lamp. And once this is all done, I leave them out in the sun just to make extra sure that they're cured, and then that's it. Thanks for watching this video. It's been a while since I've made one, so I did feel a bit awkward, but I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll catch you around. Bye!